Hello everyone, Parallel here, and welcome back to another Star Trek Online video. The hype train for the Victory is Life expansion is definitely in full swing. We've got a huge amount of news that was released this week from Cryptic relating to all of the new features that are going to be in this expansion. So we got all kinds of new details and a lot to discuss. So what I thought I'd do in this video is just do a quick rundown of all of the news that was released this week, and just have a little bit of a discussion about each of these new features. In particular, there are a few of them that actually will require quite a bit of discussion. But to start out here, one of the first big announcements was the revamp of Deep Space Nine. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to record this video right here from Deep Space Nine. As you can see, my character here is chatting up with Morn. You know that Morn character, he never shuts up. In every episode of Deep Space Nine, he was, talking everyone's ear off. So I thought that'd be an appropriate place to record this video. So Deep Space Nine is getting a big revamp, and what I'm actually going to do here is I will pull up the blog post here that Cryptic posted on their official website, and it goes into a lot of detail here. It's pretty fantastic what Cryptic is doing with this rebuild. I'm not going to read the whole post here, but suffice it to say that it's very evident that Cryptic has put a lot of care and love into this remake. They, talk about how they've gone through like every episode of Deep Space Nine, trying to find, every frame, looking through every frame of video, trying to find, reference points for all the locations on Deep Space Nine. Sometimes there are some locations on the promenade or in Quark's bar that are only shown in 1 or 2, seconds of video in the entire series. And they've gone through and tried to recreate everything down to the most, minute detail. And just going through here, you could see that it's definitely, it looks like, that type of effort really shows up here. They have, reconstructed everything from the ground up. A lot of the favorite locations are being, brought back. They actually brought back the constable's office with, and that was actually, got a little preview of that in the last featured episode, which was pretty great. They showed, the little brig area and the constable's security office in that featured episode. So, and if that's anything to judge by, then I think the rest of the rework is going to be pretty fantastic. But yeah, just so much detail. Looks like they're, really meticulously recreating, the promenade and the habitat ring. And yeah, all I can say is kudos to Cryptic on this one. Their environmental artists are top-notch, and this revamp, I think, will be really well worth their time. It's this kind of attention to detail that really makes it feel like a true licensed game. It makes it feel really immersive, and it makes that attention to detail really, brings back that feeling of Star Trek. That nostalgia is a very powerful thing, so that'll really tap into that for all of us Trek fans out there. In fact, I'm kind of curious. Let me, if I switch back to the game here, I'm actually kind of curious. I'm going to pull up a map of Deep Space Nine here. Well, I'm in Quark's right now, and they made it sound like they're actually going to attach Quark's bar to the rest of the station, which would be pretty cool if it's kind of a seamless transition rather than having to go through a loading screen. Because they also mentioned how, there's also the exit to Quark's bar on the upper level. I remember, Jake and Nog would be up there sometimes. So that'd be really cool if you could, like, go into Quark's and then come out on the upper level. That'd be quite awesome. And what I'm actually kind of curious about is, so here's the map of Deep Space Nine. From a practical standpoint, I do hope they clean things up a little bit, maybe reposition some of the vendors and, where the auction... where the exchange is, and where the, let's head back over to the exchange, where the bank is and everything, because right now you actually know the bank and the exchange and the mail is all over in this area, whereas the, the ship vendor and the tailor and everything's all way over in that section. So it'd actually be really nice if they could kind of either centralize it or just maybe put, a full suite of all of the, you know, all of the NPCs and all of the consoles in both locations. You know, put the, maybe add the, you know, NPC, the ship NPCs over here, and add some, you know, consoles for the bank and exchange over here. So you have two fully featured areas on Deep Space Nine. That'd be really good. I also hope that they get rid of the, you know, the old interacting screen here and just make it instantaneous, like the newer, like all the newer social zones. When you know, interact with the bank or the exchange, it's instant rather than having the little progress bar there. That would be nice. But all around, I'm very much looking to the revamp of Deep Space Nine. It just, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's going to be really cool to, I mean, they'll be able to reuse all of those assets in like featured episodes and stuff, so I think it'll be really well worth their time. Yep, so that's one of the big pieces of news. And again, just kudos to Cryptic, because I think this will be really well appreciated by the entire community. So that was the first big piece of news. Now the second big piece of news is that we can now play as a Cardassian, as a playable race. So this was kind of hinted at, you know, we kind of figured this was coming with the expansion, but it has now finally been confirmed. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the blog post on this one. And so yeah, Cardassians as a playable race. I know this will make a lot of people really happy. People have been wanting to play Cardassians for a long time. I remember there's even a post on Reddit about people who have, you know, been trying to, who wanted to play Cardassian so bad, they created an alien character and tried to make him look like a Cardassian. So my apologies to those people. You have my condolences, but at least now you'll be able to fulfill your dream of playing a Cardassian for real. One thing that I should mention by reading through this, it sounds like this is not going to be a free-to-play race. You're going to have some kind of a purchase to do this. My guess is you might be a separate purchase in the C store, but there's only, so far, there's only one confirmed way to actually unlock this race, and that is another one of the packs that's going to be coming with the expansion, which is another big piece of news, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. So basically, it sounds like it's not going to be a free race, unfortunately. You're probably going to either have to buy it with Zen or unlock it with one of those packs with the expansion. At least that would be my guess. So, but there is a few other things here that is quite interesting. They released the trait information, and these traits actually look quite good. We've got a inherent space trait, which is nice. A lot of races in Star Trek Online do not have a inherent space trait or a passive space trait. So already that is a nice thing for the Cardassians, going in their favor. And it actually sounds pretty decent. It says for every 5 seconds you are in combat, you will gain a stack of recalled tactics, which will increase your damage, accuracy, and defense. And what I'm hearing from people who have been on Tribble is that basically when you have all 5 stacks, it is basically a plus 10 to each of those stats, to your damage, accuracy, and defense, and it's just a category 1 to your damage. But still, that's pretty good for a racial trait. For the most part, racial traits are not that big of a deal in Star Trek Online, so it's not, you know, it's only a very minor difference in your overall DPS, but still pretty cool. Nice little trait to have. You know, it's passive, it just stacks up as you're in combat. And then you got this unique ground trait, superior mental fortitude, increases your resistance to mind-controlling attacks, enhances your innate resistance to effects of confuse, stun, and placate. Have to see how effective that really is. Sometimes those resistances just slightly lower the duration of the effect, and it's not actually all that useful. But we'll have to see what this actually does. But, okay guys, here's the critical thing. You ready? This trait will make you immune to the Vulcan nerve pinch. There you go, guys. It's official. Cardassians are OP. All other races are now obsolete in Star Trek Online. They are immune to the Vulcan nerve pinch. So that's it. There's no other reason to play anything else. Cardassians now rule. They will top all charts. All the DPS charts will now be owned by Cardassians because of this trait. They are now immune to Vulcan nerve pinch. So there you go. So that is Cardassians. Now, just one thing I should mention here, let me quickly go back. I'm kind of curious how... yeah, I'm kind of curious how this trait will actually work for Cardassians. I wish... I know this is kind of wishful thinking, but I really wish that Cryptic would do sort of a overall balance pass and go just through all races, all species in Star Trek for all factions, and just do a once-over on all of their innate traits, because a lot of them are really, really lackluster. I mean, here you're looking at the human traits. They get a slight hull regen bonus and resistance to subsystem offline duration. I didn't even know that even existed. I know they got the little hull regen bonus, but and then in ground they get increased exploit damage. I mean, there are a lot of races out there that have really subpar traits, and it would be nice to do a once over to bring a lot of those up to, you know, up to scratch. And that's something like an expansion, I think, is a perfect time to do that. People will be making new characters. It'll be a good time to rebalance things. Yeah, I know that's wishful thinking, but I mean, there's just so many, you know, old racial traits there from, you know, just the beginning of the game that are just completely obsolete, complete garbage. And it'd be nice if every race had some little thing that was unique about them, you know, both space and ground, and gives them a little bit of a buff in combat or in utility or something, just something to make them unique. Yeah, just all around that would be a great addition. So here's hoping, but I'm not going to, I don't know, it's unlikely at this point because they haven't announced it, but we'll see. Hopefully that will happen in the future. Alright, so next big piece of news. So the next piece, and this is going to require I'll go a little more depth here, because there's a lot of details here. So now they are going to be increasing the level cap to 65. And this is pretty big. This is huge change. And as a lot of people were speculating, let me go and bring up the blog post here. As a lot of people were speculating, it is going to indeed bring us up to Mark 15 gear level. So there are some good and bad details here, but let's go through the good things first. Now, one nice thing that I could see right off the bat is that Cryptic seems to be quite sensitive to the fact that Delta Rising was quite a bit of a grind to get from 50 to 60, and they want to avoid that this time around. Just reading through this blog post, you can see they've smoothed out the experience. They're setting your expectation that, you know, you're just going through the story episodes for the expansion will get you most of the way to 65, so there's not going to be that much grinding. I'm assuming if you're doing like your Admiralty and maybe a couple patrols or queues on your progression through to 65, you'll probably get there no problem with just doing, you know, just through the episodes and those little side activities. So that's great. I'm glad Cryptic is definitely aware of that. And on top of that, they even mentioned that specialization point XP is not changing. So the amount of XP that you have to earn right now to get a specialization point is going to be exactly the same as it is in the expansion, even at 65. So that's also pretty nice. So you will still be gaining specialization points at the same rate you get them now, even at 65. So definitely a good news there. I think Cryptic made the right choice for sure, not making it a grind to get to the new level cap, and you know, having it filled with a storyline will get us most of the way there. Not a lot of side grinding. That's all good stuff. And also not increasing the specialization point grind is also quite good. Now, we actually get some pretty significant rewards for each level from 61 to 65, and they actually released some details on this. So let's talk about these here, because there are quite some good rewards. So we've got at 61, you get a Tier 5 ship token and a Tier 5 ship upgrade token. That means basically, as soon as you get level 61, you get a free Tier 5U ship. That is actually pretty huge, particularly for free-to-play players. That is huge. And I think it's really needed too. In fact, I kind of think they really needed to do this back with Delta Rising, in all honesty, when they increased the level cap to 60. But finally, they are doing it now. Once you get to level 61, you will be getting that free Tier 5U ship. And there are quite a few ships in Star Trek Online, Tier 5U quality that are, end game viable. This will be, for free-to-play players, this is the first free ship you'll get since level 40. And it will take you all the way up to Tier 5U, and that'll put you in a real good position for the end game. Certainly a lot better than flying that same level 40 ship around. So that is a really great reward for leveling up past 60, and particularly for free-to-play players. I think this is a nice little gesture, particularly since some of the other features like the Cardassian are going to be locked behind a paywall. At least this part of the expansion, leveling up and getting a free Tier 5U, that will be available to everyone. So that's great. 62, you will get a new specialization qualification manual. So this is, just kind of a nice little bonus. It's not a huge thing, as these qualification manuals aren't super expensive or that hard to craft, but it will get, one of your bridge officers to be able to train in a specialization seat, which is nice. Then here's something I also want to talk about in a little more detail. So then level 63, we're getting new captain abilities. This is also pretty huge because we haven't gotten new captain abilities in a very, very long time. So, and these have been leaked. People have gone onto Tribble and they have seen exactly what these 3 abilities are. And I'm going to pull those up right now because these deserve a little bit more discussion, because there's some good and there's some bad here. So first, let's just quickly go through what the 3 abilities are. So tactical characters, here is the tactical ability called Vulnerability Assessment Sweep. And what it basically is it looks like it is an AoE damage resistance rating debuff on your targets. In other words, this basically sounds like they're giving tactical basically sensor scan from science. So now tacticals will have their own sensor scan. They'll be able to debuff a 3-kilometer sphere of enemies with the damage resistance rating. And honestly, that is pretty fantastic, because sensor scan is one of science's best abilities, and now tactical will be able to do that as well. So no complaints there. Really good, strong ability for tactical. Science is getting the Strike Package Energy Siphoning Field. This one seems a little bit interesting, and we'll have to see how this works in game, because I'm wondering if it's either going to be really, really powerful or very gimmicky and not very useful. We'll have to see how it actually works. But what this is going to do is basically, for all of the enemies within 5 kilometers, up to 5 targets, we'll get a get a debuff on them, and then it will buff yourself. And it's kind of interesting here. So basically, 2 target. Wait, is this right? Is this the engineering one? Yeah. Sorry. This is the engineering one. I got thrown off a little bit here. The UI looked like my science character. Yeah, sorry. This is the engineering ability. This one is for engineers, because this is the one that will drain power from the target and basically give it to you. Think along the lines of like plasmonic leech. Yeah, sorry for that confusion. So yeah, this is for engineers. And so it will drain aux power for 3 seconds, and to self, after 3 seconds, will give you an aux power boost up to, plus 30, assuming that hits all 5 targets. So it sounds like a somewhat useful ability. The problem I can already see here just from the description is the duration. It says for 3 seconds. That's not even 1 firing cycle. So that needs to change. So Cryptic, hopefully this is either a typo or maybe it's something that, they're still working on balancing, because having a power boost, yeah, that's kind of cool, but it only lasts for 3 seconds. You're not going to be able to do anything with that power in 3 seconds. So it should be, I mean, honestly, captain abilities like this really should last for, anywhere from 15 to even maybe up to 30 seconds, because these are generally long cooldown. It's got a 2-minute cooldown, so it should be very effective while it's up. So I do have a little bit more to talk about this one, but let's quickly also see what Science is getting. So yeah, Science is getting this one, Co-opt Energy Weapons. And this one will... this is the one I was thinking of before when I was saying this might be incredibly powerful or it might be very gimmicky. And this one is for 15 seconds to foes within 3 kilometers, reduces their energy weapon damage by 100%. So I'm assuming that reduces it to they're doing no damage. And then energy weapon damage heals the target for 10% of the damage they would normally deal. So this could be potentially quite powerful. Does it actually say if there's a max number of targets? It doesn't say max number of targets from what I can see. But 3 kilometers is a very small range, which would be, I think, the downside of this power. It really should be up to like 5 kilometers, because 3 kilometers, you almost have to be like point blank in order to have this affect them. But having that damage reduction from energy weapons could be quite substantial. And then having it kind of be like a heal is pretty cool too. So, you could see getting up to close to a bunch of enemies hitting this, and all their damage would be reduced to nothing, and you would be getting some healing instead. Does it say how long the duration is? For 15 seconds, so not bad. I mean, the engineering ability has to have at least last for 15 seconds, right? I mean, that's like the minimum I would think for any captain power. So those are 3 abilities, and taken individually, they all seem okay, right? I mean, they're not bad, but, except for maybe fixing the duration on the engineering one, they're not bad taken individually. But see, my issue here is that I think this is a bit of a missed opportunity by Cryptic. They really could have taken this opportunity to balance out the 3 different careers. Because, as we all know, Tactical is far and away not only the most popular career, they're also the most damaging career. They have, they've topped all of DPS charts for years, not just by like a small margin. It's not like they're just doing maybe like 20% more damage than the Science or Engineers. They're doing like literally double the damage. Their parses are ridiculously far ahead of the other 2 captain types, because their captain abilities are just so strong. And, a while back, Cryptic actually did do a little bit of a rebalance of captain powers, and they were buffed quite a bit. Engineers, their Nadian inversion got some buffs in their energy, what was their EPS transfer, got quite a significant buff by increasing the cap, making it almost like a override subsystem safeties type effect. Scattering Field for Science got a nice damage buff. That was a really nice buff for Science. But still, even with all those buffs to Science and Engineers, Tactical were still far away in the best. And, just giving these 3 abilities, these captain abilities to the other, to all 3 of the careers, this was an opportunity to really give Science and Engineers something great, something to really close that gap and bring that back up to where Tactical is at. And unfortunately, while I think all these abilities look pretty useful, the fact is that the Tactical one looks honestly the best for doing damage, and the other 2 are still going to be left pretty far behind in that respect. So I guess that's my takeaway here. I hope Cryptic will still look at these other abilities and maybe tweak them, particularly for Science and Engineer in particular. I think the Engineer one needs quite a bit of help. The extra power systems is always nice, but Engineers already have EPS power transfer. They already have a lot of ways to keep their power high, even without that ability. So it really could use some buffing, particularly the engineering one, but I think also the science one could use a little bit of a buff depending on how gimmicky it turns out to be. So there it goes, guys. I mean, it's really nice. I'm glad we are getting new captain abilities. I think they're great individually. I just think it was a missed opportunity on Cryptic's part to really balance out the 3 careers. You know, and particularly bring engineers up to scratch with the other ones, and even science could still use a bit of a buff. What I would really like to see is on the science character is something that would actually buff their science damage. Why don't science characters do the most science damage? And I remember Cryptic was actually looking at that at one point when they for the previous revamp, when they were going to make subnucleonic beam was going to become a bridge officer power. They were going to give science a new power that was actually would give, you know, increase their exotic damage, but they ended up backing off from that change. But I don't know. I thought that would have been a great change. I'd really love to see science captains actually be the best career for doing science damage. You know, make this captain ability also give like a huge buff to particle gen. You know, or control, exotic particle gen, control X, and drain X. How about that? I mean, that's what science characters should be best at. But the truth is that right now that tactical are better at than science characters for doing science-based damage, which is unfortunate. And I think would be a good way to bring science up without stepping on, you know, the toes of tactical, because tactical would still obviously be the best at damaging with energy weapons and so on, but science would finally be to the point where they can actually outdamage tactical with, you know, exotic damage type abilities. So that's what I was hoping to see for science. Engineers, you know, they really could use something. They need something, just honestly, just some flat weapon damage buff. How about, you know, when this new captain ability, when you actually drain the target, how about giving them also a category 2 damage buff for the duration? You know, something like, you know, emergency power to weapons that increases your weapons power, but it also gives you a flat damage buff as well. Why not give that to this engineering ability? Make it actually increase their damage, not just power systems, which is, you know, not something necessarily engineers need. So I guess that's just kind of my take on it, guys. I'd be interested to see, you know, your take on the comments down below. What do you think of these new captain abilities? Do you think did Cryptic miss the opportunity here to balance out the 3 careers, or do you think they're fine? Maybe they're fine the way they are. We got a couple other rewards here. At level 64, we are going to be getting an Elite Gamma Quadrant Duty Officer. This sounds pretty cool. It says multiple high-quality duty officers direct from the Gamma Quadrant. This could be awesome. I'd love to see like a Zaymok. I'll take a Zaymok. You know, that'd be nice to give everyone a duty officer like Zaymok, or, you know, maybe something new, maybe some new ability with you know, with some Gamma Quadrant species in there. That'd be pretty cool. So definitely looking forward to that one. And then finally at level 65, we'll be getting a new epic Admiralty ship. That's always a welcome bonus. It's called the CUV Tane. It is the ship of Garrick himself. Tane, wasn't that his... man, that was a character in Deep Space Nine. I'm forgetting who it was. That's going to bug me. That is... yeah, Nabran Tane. Wasn't that... that was his father, right? Or we found out, spoilers, that it was his father. It was actually... He was the leader of the Obsidian Order. Oh, okay, cool. So that's cool. He named a ship after his father. I like that. That was actually a pretty cool episode. I remember when his father died. That was actually a pretty touching episode there, where Garrick finally, where it's like they finally told the truth to each other after all those years of being separated, which was pretty cool. I really liked that episode. I do remember that. So Nabran Tane. Okay, so we get his ship, and we will have to see. I'm not sure what the stats will be on this, but as an epic ship, I have high hopes. These epic ships are always very, very good. Excellent for, you know, new players. You know, since all players will be getting this, even free-to-play players will have a nice Admiralty ship when they get to 65. So very, very good. They mentioned a few things here about what's not coming with the increased leveling. They're not going to add a new rank, so you're still just going to be a fleet admiral. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of hard to go above fleet admiral unless you're like, the in the Starfleet commander. So I mean, I guess pretty much they're, I'm fine with not adding a new rank to this. I mean, I don't know. At this point now that we're all fleet admirals, I would say we've probably hit the ceiling as far as that goes, and just keep adding levels would be fine. No new ship tier, yes. So tier 6 ships are still the cap. They already announced that in the previous, back when they, announced the expansion and released all the details. They already said there's going to be no tier 7 for the foreseeable future. Again, that's totally fine. I'm totally fine with that. And that could even that'd be a whole new level of power creep if they went to tier 7. So I think they're kind of holding off with that. And they haven't even replaced all the tier 6, the tier 5 ships with tier 6 ships yet. So there's still a long ways to go for tier 6, I believe. And no price tag. So yes, you'll be get all of this stuff, particularly in this blog post, everything from, for all the level 65 rewards, you will be getting that for free-to-play players. So that's cool. Now, like I said, you won't be getting necessarily Cardassians as a playable race for free-to-play, but at least you'll be getting everything shown here. Now, one thing they did confirm is that we will be getting Mark 15 gear. And this is a little bit more controversial, but on the whole, I think this is important, and honestly, I think it's needed. Just because, Star Trek Online is it's a theme park MMO, right? It's all about vertical progression. It's about chasing the gear, making your character more powerful, and doing more damage. It's all that is sort of the main gameplay in Star Trek Online. That's what that's what your goals are all revolving around: upgrading your gear and becoming more powerful. And Mark 15 is their way of doing that. And now I do understand a lot of people, for a lot of people this is difficult. It's already been difficult for some people to even get to Mark 14, right? So adding a whole new Mark 15 on top of that, I could see why this would be disappointing to some people. But as the levels increase, as they increase the level cap, I do think it is needed to keep those marks increasing. What I do think they should do, and they didn't mention this in any of the blog posts, but I would like to see them actually, so now that the cap is going to be Mark 15, what I would like to see is that to raise the floor from Mark 12 up to Mark 13. And by that I mean, normally right now, whenever you complete a reputation project, or whenever you whenever like just items drop in the world, or at the end of a queue, and you get a reward, like at the end, they always reward you with like Mark 12 gear. Whenever you complete an episode, it's always Mark 12. Whenever you complete a reputation project, it's always Mark 12. What they should do is raise that so all of those now award at Mark 13. That way you still are within 2 levels of the cap, right? So you only will have to always upgrade your gear by 2 mark levels. Because right now it is kind of daunting for new players, because still all of the old gear is going to be dropping at Mark 12, and they're going to have to upgrade 3 mark levels, through the tech upgrade system. So, while I think adding Mark 15 to the game is important, I think it's needed. I think it keeps the vertical progression going in the game. Likewise, I think they should raise the floor to Mark 13, and I think that would compensate a lot for that. I think that make a lot of people more happy with not having to upgrade quite as much. Relative. I mean, it's like you can always be within 2 tiers of the top level each time a new mark level comes out. Raise what the minimum mark of level is for the rewards. So that would be my idea in that case. Who knows if Cryptic will do anything like that to make it easier. Maybe they'll lower the amount of technology points you need to get from Mark 12 to Mark 13. Something along that would also work. I would like to see something along those lines, though, just because, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for newer players to get all the way up to Mark 15, having to upgrade through 3 mark levels. Now, one thing I do want to mention about this is there is a potential downside, even for people who are fully upgraded to Mark 14 epics now. There is going to be a definite downside to Mark 15, and that is that in the future, when you want to upgrade gear, if you want to upgrade gear quality levels, there's going to be a huge increase in the amount of technology points you're going to need in order to increase the quality. So like when you upgrade an item, and this one's already marked 14, but when you upgrade an item, you have to increase the technology point bar completely before you can get a roll against your quality increase. And if Mark 15 is now the cap, that means you're going to have to fill the entire technology point bar for Mark 15 now, which is going to be way more technology points than Mark 14, I guarantee it. So basically the net result is, if you're wanting to upgrade the quality of items, then it's going to be much, much harder once we have Mark 15, with the expansion. So that is definitely a downside. And one thing I do want to mention real quickly is that there is an upgrade weekend right now. So right now on the calendar, this is an upgrade weekend, and this could potentially be the last upgrade weekend before we get the expansion. We might, there's a slim chance we get maybe one more, but this might be the last tech item upgrade weekend before the expansion. And now that we know that Mark 15 is coming, I would heavily recommend that if you have any gear that you still have to get to epic quality, then do it now. Do it this weekend, because once they increase to Mark 15, it's gonna take a lot more technology points, a lot more tech upgrades to be able to get that quality improvement. So keep that in mind. I would say just take advantage of this weekend. I will try to get a few more things up to epic quality. Now, if you're just upgrading your gear as far as mark levels, then it shouldn't matter that much at all. This is only if you're trying to increase the quality level, from like purple to ultra rare to epic. So it will only affect that end of it. But just something to be aware of there. All right, so that is the level cap increase to 65 and all of the details there. So a lot of good stuff. I think Mark 15 is good. I think all the rewards for the level up at each level is great. But some downsides there too, with the missed opportunity with the captain powers and balancing the 3 careers, and then also the consequences of Mark 15 being the new cap, making it harder to increase the quality level of gear. So, but we still have one more huge piece of news here, and that is we are getting a new pack with the expansion, and it is going to be called the Gamma Vanguard Pack. So I will go ahead and pull up the blog post here. So the Gamma Vanguard Pack. So this is pretty huge, and everyone was expecting something like this. With every expansion, they've always had a what they call a discount pack, although something that costs $130, it's hard for me to call that a discount pack. But these packs, we had with the Romulus expansion, they had the Romulus Legacy of Romulus pack. With the Delta Rising, they had the Delta, what was it called? Delta Alliance pack or Delta Operations pack. Yeah, let me go back in game here. I'm pulling it up in the C store. So yeah, we got the Delta Operations pack for the Delta Rising expansion, and then with the Temporal expansion, we got this was the Special Agent pack, yeah, and we got the Temporal Special Agent pack was the discount pack with that expansion. So everyone was figuring, yes, it's a new expansion, they are going to have another discount pack. So let's see what is in this pack. Now, we still are lacking some details, in particular on the ship. So it's hard to know if this pack is going to be worth it just yet. So I'm going to withhold any sort of buyer's advice until we have more detail on all of the ships that are contained in the pack. Because if all of these ships are excellent ships with great traits, then it definitely increases the value of the pack. So we'll have to wait and see on that account. But for now, let's just see what the general offering is here. So there is going to be, like in previous ones, there's going to be the starter pack and then sort of the full pack. Yep, so we've got the Vanguard pack and then the Vanguard starter pack. So let's take a look at the starter pack. Now these starter packs are usually really, really good value. I remember, I think in previous videos, I've highly recommended the Temporal Agent starter pack. Particularly, I've seen that one go on sale for $10, which is an absolutely amazing deal for that pack. So I still recommend if you ever see that pack go on sale to pick it up. But let's see what's in this starter pack here. So the Gamma Vanguard starter pack contains several helpful items to start your adventure fighting the Herc within the Dominion. So the pack contains the following items. The Jem'Hadar Vanguard Dreadnought Cruiser. So we get a Dreadnought Cruiser. Could be good. Again, we don't know the details on the ship yet, but so you do get a tier 6 ship. So that's similar to the Temporal Operative pack. You do get that tier 6 ship in the starter pack. You get playable Jem'Hadar Vanguard species. This is actually kind of interesting. We'll have to talk about this a little bit here as well, but apparently there's going to be 2 Jem'Hadar species. There's going to be the Jem'Hadar Warriors, and there's going to be the Jem'Hadar Vanguard. Now, this makes me kind of think this is like how we have right now the Trill and then the Join Trill. Or you could call it the Gimp Trill and the Join Trill. So is this going to be something similar where the regular Jem'Hadar are going to be Gimp and the Jem'Hadar Vanguard are going to be awesome? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It would be unfortunate if that is the case, but based on history, it could very well indeed come true. That said, from a lore perspective, I can kind of see this. I can see this fitting in with the lore pretty much fine because, you know, we actually know that there are different breeds of Jem'Hadar. If you recall, you know, back in Deep Space Nine, there was the quote-unquote Alpha Jem'Hadar, and then there was the Gamma Jem'Hadar. And the Alpha Jem'Hadar were the ones that were bred in the Alpha Quadrant, to, you know, specifically to fight against the, you know, the species of the Alpha Quadrant. And they had a little bit of more like free, independent thought, and they were kind of like full of themselves. They're always going around like, oh, you're just a lowly Gamma Jem'Hadar, you know, Jem'Hadar, get out of here, you losers. You know, they were always talking down. They thought they were superior. And I could very well see the same thing happening here with this Vanguard species. It could be, you know, a new genetically enhanced Jem'Hadar, specifically like for fighting the Herc. You know, for example, maybe they were bred to fight the Herc, and, you know, and maybe these guys will be like, oh, you pitiful Alpha Jem'Hadars, you losers, you get out of here. You're not worthy to lick my boots. So now we've got the Vanguard Jem'Hadar. So I could kind of see it making sense from a lore standpoint. I just hope that the regular Jem'Hadar aren't too gimped so that, you know, yeah, we'll have to see. So you will get also a costume, the Jem'Hadar tactical uniform, title, Victory is Life, title, plain and simple. Not so sure about this starter pack, because one thing I really liked about the Temporal starter pack is it came with the Constitution class, and that was, you know, a low tier ship that also had the blue quality phaser weapons on it that you could had free upgrades that you could use throughout your leveling process. So you'd always have a really good set of weapons that you could pull from all the way while you're leveling. And I don't see something similar in this starter pack. So I would say, I don't know if this starter pack is final here, but I would say recommend a Cryptic. Well, then again, you know, the Dominion faction, they started at level 60. Isn't that what they said in the first announcement? So maybe they don't need to have like a low tier ship. I mean, they'll be able to fly this tier 6 ship right out of the box. So, okay, I guess maybe they don't need to have a low tier ship included in this pack, but if you are leveling a non-Jem'Hadar character, and you do have to level from scratch, probably the Temporal Operative one is still a better choice because of that low-tier ship and the free upgraded weapons from the Constitution. All right, so that's what we get. You can see a picture here of the Dreadnought Cruiser looking pretty slick. We'll see more ships down here in just a moment. The new outfit looks quite cool. It's definitely something nice. New players will certainly appreciate having the outfit be available. And they do talk a little bit here about the Vanguard, the Jem'Hadar Vanguard species. So yeah, it says they are designed to be the most intense combat, designed for the most intense combat encounters and feature enhanced space combat techniques. So they might have some pretty nice traits. We'll have to see what their traits are. And, we'll have to compare that to the Jem'Hadar warrior traits to really get a, good view of whether, the starter pack is worth it. But, so that was the starter pack. Now we're down to the Vanguard pack. This is the big boy. This is the one that has all the ships, all the costumes, what you're looking for here. Now, right off the bat, so this pack contains a lot. But right off the bat, you can see two things that I thought was kind of a nice touch. You actually will get the Tier 5 Jem'Hadar Dreadnought Carrier and the Tier 5 Jem'Hadar Heavy Escort Carrier. That is actually quite cool. Because that is something that is not really available in the game anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I think they took that out of the lockbox once they brought out the Tier 6 version of those ships. So that's actually really, really nice. That's kind of just a nice gesture to give people access to those older ships. But we got all kinds of new stuff here too. We get lots of Tier 6 ships. We got 3 Jem'Hadar vessels and 3 Cardassian vessels. Very nice. You get to unlock the Playable Cardassian and the Playable Jem'Hadar Vanguard with this pack. You didn't get Cardassian with the starter pack, did you? Okay. So yeah, so this is one of the ways to unlock Cardassians. I suspect they also will be like a separate purchasable item in the C-store, but that's not confirmed yet. You do get the costume, 3 high-end upgrade kits. I wonder if those will be like the, what are those upgrade kits called? The ones that go immediately to Mark 14? Ultimate tech upgrades. Yeah, if those are like the ultimate tech upgrades, I wonder if that's the case. That would be nice if it is. 2 large XP boosts, which normally would be pretty lousy, but in another post this week, they announced they are improving the XP boosts, and by quite a significant margin, I have to say. So the XP boosts will actually be fairly useful going forward, so that's kind of cool. And then a bunch of titles. I'm not a huge fan of titles, but you can see what they are here. Gamma Vanguard, Victory is Life, Engineered for Victory, Citizen of Terok Nor, Family is all plain and simple. But here we go, guys. So obviously the main attraction of this pack is the ships. Notably missing here is any bridge officers and any duty officers. My favorite thing about the Delta Operations Pack that makes me still to this day not regret buying that pack is because the duty officer that came with it, Agent Nerul, I still use them all the time on almost every build. And a lot of the bridge officers were really, really good. Particularly the Romulan ones were amazing. So I still use those all the way to this day. And I kind of will miss not having that in this pack. So Cryptic, hopefully if you can, maybe squeeze in a bridge officer or two and maybe some duty officers into this pack. That would be much appreciated. I mean, why not? Why not have like a Jem'Hadar bridge officer? That'd be pretty awesome. And maybe some duty officers. That would be great. So I think that would fit right in. I think that's kind of, just looking down here, I think that's what it's really missing. I mean, it's got costumes, it's got ships, titles, kits, upgrade kits. It's just no bridge officers and no duty officers. That seems to be what is missing here. But here we go. We got some nice screenshots of all of these ships. You've got your Tier 5 Jem'Hadar Dreadnought Carrier, which I think is awesome. This ship was awesome in the show. I believe this was the ship that destroyed the Valiant, was it not? Was that a Dreadnought Carrier? It looks like this anyway. Awesome looking ship. The heavy escort carrier. I don't know if this is a cannon ship, but it looks awesome. It looks very Jem'Hadar. And here are the new ships, the tier 6 ones. Now, just real quick, I have to say, on the look side, something is off about, I think the texturing does not quite match the Jem'Hadar look and feel. I like the shape of the vessel. You know, the modeling, everything looks fantastic. I just think the texturing does not quite look at Jem'Hadar. I mean, just look at the comparison here. Jem'Hadars usually have a very a very detailed hull texture, lots of small windows, you know, lots of that metallic plating look, lots of depth to it, shadows. Whereas this one, the new ships, you can kind of see them here, they look like they have very flat hull plates and very smooth textures. I don't dislike the look of it, but I don't think it looks Jem'Hadar-ish, if that's, if I can use that term. I think it's only the texture, though. The modeling looks fine, particularly this one here. This warship looks pretty fantastic, but the model looks great. So hopefully Cryptic can maybe touch it up, make it look a little more like the Jem'Hadar. I would like to see, maybe that can be fixed up, because we could add the Jem'Hadar shield on there. Maybe that will fix it up and make it look great, because the surface texturing of the ships does change with with all the different reputation shields. So maybe it won't be a big deal. Maybe you could put a shield on here and make it look exactly how we want. But that's just my feedback on the visuals. I think they do look good, just not Jem'Hadar-ish enough. Not this, the hull texturing doesn't look quite like the traditional Jem'Hadar. Yeah, so what we're going to get is the first one here is a Raider. So we'll have to see what this is going to be. It's either going to be like a 4-2 or a 5-1. I would love to see a 5-1 Raider. That would be fantastic, because there's not very many of those 5-1s out there. I think the Baltim is one, but I'm not sure if there's any others. But that'd be really cool if this was a 5-1 Raider. And, obviously it'll probably have Raider flanking. We'll have to see how this one does. Looks pretty cool. Raiders do fit with the Jem'Hadar theme, though. I mean, I get the feeling this is kind of fill the role of the attack ship, which they can't give everyone an attack ship, because that is a very rare, R&D event reward. So they're not going to be giving that away in a pack or something. They could get, in the C-store or something like that. So that's what we're going to get. We're also going to get a Vanguard Dreadnought cruiser. This is the one you also get in the starter pack. So as a Dreadnought cruiser, I would love to see if this is a 5-3 or maybe has a hangar bay. Yep. And one thing that's interesting, I was reading these, that it says that when you unlock the mastery trait on these ships, it enables its use on all other characters on your account. That's kind of cool. That's a nice little addition there, Cryptic. All I could say is please do that with every ship in the game. I would love to only have to mastery rank out a ship once on my account and then have it be attained by everybody. That would be fantastic, particularly for lockbox ships. Please, please, Cryptic, just do it. So I really like this change, but this really needs to be across the board. I'd love to have that apply to every ship. But definitely looking forward to this one. Should be a nice big tanky cruiser with some devastating firepower, hopefully a hangar bay. And then finally the warship. This is the one I'm really excited about. And honestly, depending on how this ship looks, may be the deciding factor of whether I'm going to buy this pack myself. Haven't decided yet. I'm leaning towards I probably will, but it heavily depends on the stats of these ships, that's for sure, and particularly the traits. But warships in general are very, very good. Some of the best ships in the game are warships. You've got, the Krenim warship, which is one of the best ships in the game. You've got the Ferengi Nandi, which is an awesome ship. You've got the Chel Bol warship, the Breen, also an excellent ship. So across the board, warships are some of the best ships in Star Trek. They got great mastery. They've got, usually have 5-3 weapons, but they always have 8 weapons. I think the Nandi has 4-4, but all the other ones have 5-3. Great weapons layouts. Usually have excellent bridge officer seating with, with the commander tactical and, specialization seats. And so all around warships are some of the top ships in the game. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Now these Cardassian ships, now these things look amazing. They really do. I think they knocked it out of the park with these ones. These really look, they have the look and the feel of the Cardassians. They look sort of like an updated, Galler class with some, new textures, but they're very true to the look and feel of the Cardassians. I really love these. We've got first a Science Dreadnought. That was really cool. We haven't had a Science Dreadnoughts. I mean, Science Dreadnoughts are usually limited to, lock boxes or even like R&D, like the Anoraks, like the R&D events. So the Anoraks is super expensive. That's a Science Dreadnought, but I think the Paradox is available out of the lock box. So that's a little bit more affordable, but that's another Science Dreadnought. We got that Sona Science Dreadnought, right? And now we have this one. We've got Cardassian Intel Science Dreadnought. That was awesome. It's going to be Intel. It's going to have cloak enabled. And it's a Science Dreadnought, which I'm assuming means it's going to be a 4-3 Science layout. Not sure if it'll have a hangar or not. Usually Science Dreadnoughts do. And then it should have a secondary deflector and everything else. So this could be an amazing ship. Having a Science Dreadnought out of, available with direct purchase rather than out of a lockbox or something else, I think is great. So definitely looking forward to that one. This one looks amazing. I think out of all of them, this one looks absolutely incredible. This is the flight deck cruiser here. So we've got an Intel flight deck cruiser. Again, usually flight deck cruisers have 1 hangar bay. I'd be curious to see if this is actually more like a carrier where it has 2 hangar bays, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Should be a pretty awesome ship. Again, has a cloaking device. Since when do all of these have a cloaking device? Oh, I guess this one, the Intel Escort, doesn't mention it. Although that'd be pretty funny if the science ship and the cruiser have it, but not the Escort, which usually the Escort is where you would want the cloaking device. But all really great looking ships. A cloaked Science Dreadnought, though, is awesome. This warship looks really good, so definitely the potential is here. We just have to wait and see what the traits are going to look like and the stats on these ships. So, yep, so we got an Intel Escort here, the Tapa class. So we'll have to see. It looks like it might just be a standard Escort. I don't see anything particularly of note here, but I wonder if any of these will come with spiral waves. That'd be pretty awesome. I would love to have access to spiral waves too. So all potential is there. You have to wait and see the stats though. The devil is definitely in the details. So we got our playable races. You got the Cardassians looking good. You've got your Jem'Hadar Vanguard. I wonder if their facial markings will be a little bit different here, because I think the Alpha Jem'Hadar had like slightly different, like their face plates were a little bit different, like their forehead plate. Looking pretty good. We've got the Jem'Hadar tactical uniform. This actually looks pretty damn slick, I have to say. I think with a little bit, I'm curious to see how it colors. We have to see how this actually colors and what the colorable areas are. But this could potentially be a pretty damn nice looking uniform. Looks very like a tactical infiltration type uniform, right? Looks awesome. I really like it. Looking pretty good on the Vulcan here. It looks good on Klingon too, so looking forward to that uniform. And then here's all the boosts and the titles and all of that good stuff. Not really my cup of tea. I'm not big on the titles, but Oh, here it mentions the 3 upgrade kits. Does it say anything here? Improve your gear, apply each Dominion onward to any piece of gear to choices mark, and chance of increasing its rarity. This makes me think maybe it's not like the ultimate tech upgrade. Maybe it is just like an improved, higher chance to increase the rarity. I'll have to wait and see on that one. But that is the Vanguard, or Gamma Vanguard pack, guys. So those are the big pieces of news. We got the Deep Space Nine revamp, we've got the Playable Cardassians, we've got the level 65 with the new captain abilities, and we've got the Gamma Vanguard pack. Tons of news this week. So, plus the other little tidbits, like they revamped the XP boost, so they're actually pretty decent now. The upgrade weekend this weekend, again, take advantage of that. It'll probably be the last upgrade we get before Mark 15. And then we have the Delta Recruits event that came back. I just did a video on this yesterday, so please check out that video if you want the details on the Delta Recruit event. But definitely want to take advantage of that, because the last time this came around was almost 4 years ago, so this is a very rare event to reoccur, so take advantage of it now. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything, guys. So wow, yes, that was a lot to cover. I hope hopefully you guys are all interested in this expansion now, getting the hype going. All of these, details are looking pretty good. It looks like it should be a pretty substantial expansion. I've seen a lot of debate out there whether this is going to be to the level of the Legacy of Romulus, or it's going to be more like the the temporal operative expansion, that the more recent one. And I'm actually pretty curious about that myself. I tend to think it's going to be somewhere in between. I get the feeling it's going to be a little bit bigger than the temporal expansion, just because they are adding the new actually, let me go up into space. They are adding the new sector block for Gamma Quadrant. So that makes me think it's more closer to maybe around what the Delta Quadrant expansion was, the Delta Rising expansion. And we didn't really get that with the temporal operative expansion. That one was more, you just had that slightly different sector block while you were doing the tutorial missions as a temporal operative. But yeah, for this one, we're getting a whole new section here in the Gamma Quadrant. So that alone makes me think it's bigger than the temporal operative expansion. I think there hopefully will be more episodes as well. I mean, they've only mentioned there's going to be 6 episodes. I'm really hoping there are actually more. Maybe that's like 6 actual episodes after the tutorial is done. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Plus this Vanguard pack, the new species is great. So I'm hoping it's a little bit bigger than the temporal operative expansion, but I don't think it's going to be quite as big as Legacy of Romulus. The fact that you're already going to be starting at level 60 as a Dominion player makes me think there's not going to be as many episodes as there were for the Romulans. So that's kind of where I'm setting my expectations. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. You think this expansion is shaping up to be pretty good, or you think it's going to be, you know, limited in content? You think it's going to be better than maybe than temporal operative? You think it's going to be up there maybe with Delta Rising? I would definitely be interested to know your input. But I think that pretty much covers it here, guys. Yep, sorry for a long video, but there was definitely a lot to talk about here with all of this news coming out. I guess the big thing now is we just have to wait and see, you know, all the stats on the new ships and the Vanguard pack, and see what's, you know, what the traits are going to be and all of that good stuff. That will definitely determine how much value that pack is going to bring. Yeah, and I guess I'm a little bit more confused now. I really want to know what races are going to be available with the Dominion now, because we just have the Jem'Hadar Warriors and the Jem'Hadar Vanguard, assuming those will both be available as you know, in the Dominion faction. But what else is going to be there? I'm still holding out for Vorta. I really want to see Vorta be in there. I mean, how can you not have the Vorta? They are the Dominion. I mean, it's the order of things, right? You've got the Jem'Hadar, you've got the Vorta, and you got the Founders. Those are the 3 cornerstones of the Dominion. You can't just take the Vorta out. So I'm really hoping the Vorta is there, and maybe Alien. I'd like to see, you know, Cryptic, you know, include Alien as one of the options for the Gamma Quadrant, for the Dominion faction, as one of the playable races, because I mean, there's a lot of aliens in the Gamma Quadrant, so it would be nice if they were included. as a playable race. I'd be pretty happy if that was our selection. You know, maybe something else was a surprise in there. I'm kind of curious if Cardassians would be a playable race for the Dominion. I know that at the end of Deep Space Nine, the actual show, they did have a bit of a falling out as Dumar, you know, led the rebellion against the Dominion. But who knows? There could be a whole faction of Cardassians that are still loyal to the Dominion. And now that Odo is, you know, one of the founders again, he could have some sway there as well to allow Alpha Quadrant races into the Dominion again. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point, but there still is some details we do need to find out, what the playable races are going to be, what the detail on all the ships are going to be, so hopefully we'll get all that in the upcoming weeks, and when that news comes out, I will definitely cover it here on the channel. But otherwise, I think that pretty much covers it for now, guys. Thank you very much for watching. That's all. Bye for now.